Good morning everybody, this is Mustad Live, but it's a pre-recording. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, Newmarket, headquarters of British racing, and we're in one of Europe's top training facilities. We're going to show you today a range of different horses being shod, different styles of shoes that we use, the St Croix range. You can see behind me now, first lot are on the ring. This is where they come out. They'll trot round so the trainers can see that each horse is sound, capable of going up onto the heath and doing its exercise for the day. It's a good opportunity for us also to see the horses out in the stables. So they're just warming up. I'll go into my first horse now and we'll go through how to fit a racing plate and what I'm looking for when fitting a racing plate. So this filly is a 3-year-old, and to some people that don't work in racing or haven't worked in racing, this could be a nice opportunity for you to see what goes on and what a great industry it is to work on these beautiful horses. So a lot of the time, if they're happy to stand loose, we'll shoe them loose. They're so well handled and they're happy to usually stand for us. So this filly's currently in steel shoes, and what with the coronavirus situation, racing has been on lockdown ever since, but this week it's a great week to start with the racing range because racing opened up in the UK. So now we're having to switch all our horses from steel shoes into plates ready to run. And normally we would get a bit of a clue as what's to run and when, but as racing's so backed up at the moment, if there's racing opportunities, any horse could run at any moment. So we're switching out into plates just so that they can run if the opportunity arises. So what I'm always aiming for over the winter period when we've got these horses is to try and stack up as much sole and good foot and strength and quality to these, so that when the racing seasons come, the feet are going to get abused a lot. I think I worked out once, there's at least 16 shoeings in a season for a racehorse, so we want to make sure we've got nice strong feet to start with and we're not removing too much good horn. So I'm not looking to do too much, we'll just clean up these bars, leave as much integrity in the sole as I can, and again, as much as shoeing, thinking about the racing foot really, I don't want too much, you don't want too much friction. That foot's got to get through the ground and get out of the ground as quickly as possible. If we leave big flaps and bars in feet, it's just more to try and get through the ground. I'm just levelling over. She's got a lovely foot, this filly. I'm always just trying to keep our walls strong, so I'll just take that forward and just give it a little dress. And again, at this stage, I'm not trying to remove too much horn, I'm just trying to keep the tubules stood upright, keep us with a strong foot. Now with this, I just want to talk, it's just a basic plate going on, but what I'm going to be looking for when I'm plating a runner. So, with this filly, I'm using the St Croix Concord. I've got a 5 and a 6. I'm going to have a look what's best fit for me at this time. Also, I just want you to have a look and see as the ride comes past. It's a great opportunity for farriers. There's still a few on the ring at the moment, but it's a great opportunity when you're in the yard, as the horses are walking past, you can have a look at the footfall, how they're landing, what's going on. It's just a good place to make some notes, because we're shoeing in boxes all the time. It's not always easy to get them out and have a look at them. So you've got to take your opportunities when the horse is out, just to have a look at what's going on with the feet and record some notes about them. So this is a 5, and again, it would fit. You could get that on. It would be a real racy fit, but as this filly hasn't been declared to run, she might not run next week, she might run the following week. So I'm going to pop her up a shoe size, so she's got something to stand on and grow into, and then when the opportunity arises for her to run, she can still run in this. But if she was declared to run, and say she was in a big race, a Group 1 or a Classic, you don't want that shoe coming off, and the chances are you can plate her the day before, and then also when she comes back you can take the shoe off and put her into a more supportive shoe after the race. So that would be a tighter fit for a big race where you definitely don't want shoes coming off. I mean, we don't want shoes coming off anyway, but you're trying to just cover all eventualities. So with the 6, this is just going to offer us a bit more cover. She can train in this, and then when the opportunity arises she can run in it also. So I'll shape this up. And again, I spent years bending over on small stool jacks. Welcome to the tall jack. I'll always stand up now and shape my shoes. I don't want, we're bent over enough. We can stand up. It's like working back on an anvil again. So again, we haven't altered it too much, and now's that opportunity to spot your horses as they're coming off the ride. I'm normally here with a pen and a pad, jotting down horses' names if you see something amiss. We've got a variety of different shoes on these horses in this yard. We've got bar shoes, unclipped shoes, equilibrium toes, quarter clip hinds, toe clip hinds, lateral extension hinds. We still try to shoe the racehorse like a normal horse and give it every opportunity to have the best foot. You are limited at racing season what you can put on when they're racing, but 90% of the time these horses are hacks. They leave the yard, go up the gallops, do their work, come home, so you've still got to shoe them with all the barrier principles that you was taught. So we've got our first lot going out, and we had a very early morning this morning. At 5 o'clock this morning we had a whole bunch of gallopers going out to do some work, and typically in Newmarket the gallopers go out as early as possible so they can get the best ground, so they get again the best opportunity to perform and train before all the other thousands of horses have gone out in Newmarket and churned all the ground up. Right, let's see how this shoe fits. There we go. And you can see how well behaved these horses are. You've just had 20-30 horses walk by her. She doesn't get stressed or wound up that they've gone out and she hasn't gone out yet. She's going out second lot. So there was not too much shaping in that. I'll just give it another little close up, and I'm happy with how that fits. We'll get that nailed on. Again, I like to just ease my clips in. Because these horses do go out and they do have to cross the road, you will get shoes pushed back. That's why we use the clip in the UK racing. I know American racing and in Dubai and Middle East, you won't use a lot of clips on your shoes because you're training on the track, so they don't get that pushing back as the foot lands. So it's a bit more of a traditional English racing thing to have a clip on. So with these plates, I'm using the hammerhead nail. This is probably my most favourite nail to use. It really fits well in these St. Croix plates, and it also has, if anyone hasn't used it or doesn't know about it, it has the locking mechanism. So before you drive a nail, or before you drive the hammerhead, you have that wobble, and that in a plate, as every time the foot lands you've got this movement, you end up with big holes in your hoof, and the shoes move around. With the hammerhead nail, it's got a locking system, so when you do the final drive, which I'll try and perform here, which hasn't worked. I'll just put it on the handle. When you do the final drive, the head of the nail bites into the concave of the section, or the fullering of the section. It bites in, and then it reduces the wobble. So that in turn, when you've got 6 hammerhead nails in a foot and they're all locked in tight, you're reducing that movement between the nail and the shoe, and in turn you end up with a better quality hoof wall. So we're going to pop this on. And again, in racing, if we've got good old nail holes to use, we'll use them, because these horses are going to get a lot of nail holes in their feet during the season, and if we can save a bit of wall space for the future, it's always going to benefit us. You know, we're right at the early stage of the season now. Come September, late September, early October, the season's still going, and these horses start to run out of foot. Everything starts to hurt on them. They've been in training, they're running races, they might have picked up injuries, so your foot is always kind of the consequence of what's going on. And again, this isn't for everybody, but I don't draw up, I don't knock up my nails during racing season, because we're going to be shoeing them a lot. If I draw up every time, the nail holes become elongated, and again it's just, you get wall breakdown. So I don't knock up. Clenching up process, I'll still be traditional, just ease out under my clenches, so I get a nice strong clench. And what some of you might notice is when I clench a foot, especially in a plate, it's kind of a hard habit to break, but I won't silver line. I just grasp straight down so wall and shoe are at the same angle, especially on an inside, because when these horses go racing, they're on and off boxes, some of them are getting on and off aeroplanes, they go down to the starting gates, they get very anxious and their legs are all over the place. If they just have half a millimetre of shoe to stand on when they're jogging around, they'll pull it off. And again, racing being a business, these horses have had so much effort put into them to get them to the race, you don't want that shoe coming off. So anything you can do to limit that. So you can see on that inside fit, it's completely flush. Because when a horse is jig-jogging around, the other foot's sometimes whacking into here and coming down. I don't want it to be able to feel anything. Obviously we still give it the heel width for our foot to expand on, but we don't want any tread. So that's kind of the basic racing plating job. So again, we looked at our two sizes. If she was racing tomorrow and she was in a big race, I would have opted for the smaller size shoe, fitted pretty much to the point of heel, just to avoid any shoe loss. But the fact that she's going to be in training for the next couple of weeks, maybe a race will come her way, she'll be in aluminium, she'll be able to go in that. So that's her done. Now we'll go and call in on the guys and see what everyone's up to, what they're putting on and why. And this is typical. This is just a typical morning for us in Newmarket. We work as a team, we try and work alongside one another, so that if any horse needs holding or there's a problem or one of the lads need a bit of advice, it's just another set of eyes and we're all on the same place. So this is Rob. Rob's a qualified farrier. He qualified with Mulqueen Farriery and he represented his country in shoemaking, so it kind of puts to bed that no hot shoeing and no shoemaking rumour. You can still get to the top level of competitions if you're working on racehorses every day.
Yeah.
So this is Luxor. What are you putting on here, Rob?
So I'm putting a St. Croix quads clip hind on behind. He's got long long toes behind. So just putting
Quite low heeled as well, isn't he, behind? So we've been able to give him quite a bit of support.
Bring it back. Not quite done fitting the shoe yet, but
yeah.
And then in front again he's low heeled. So we're going to put a Concord equilibrium on and just knock that clip off, just so we can set it under the foot just a little bit more. If you could knock that clip off, that would be very handy.
So these Concord equilibrium shoes, they come in side clip and toe clip. Now what we find is a good few horses will use the toe clip on, but generally if we're putting them on it's because they've got a long toe and a low heel, so we're trying to pull everything back and stand everything back up. So if we knock the clip off, that just allows us to set that shoe under a little bit more and start to bring the toes back. So I'll just show you on site how we knock that clip off. It's pretty simple, you guys would all know it anyway, but I'll just use the corner of my anvil to just straighten the clip up, fire that off, and then I picked up off a farrier in Turkey when I was over there. You can use your raft like a plane or a lineature and just clean up your excess material from the back of the clip. And you can also use this if you haven't pre-boxed, and we pre-box all the shoes before they come out, but if you don't pre-box and you're on site, you can also use it and box your shoes up. It's a nice little trick. Also, what nail would you go for with these, Rob?
For these ones I'm going to go for the FJ1, just because they fit in the fullering a bit better. The hammerhead tends to stick up a bit more.
So the FJ range of nails from Mustad is also a very nice plate nail. So where the fullering is a bit finer in the Concords, the Equilibriums, a hammerhead 1 will just slightly sit up at the toe. So we can change our nail selection, use an FJ. That gives us a nice head fit. As you can see, the hammerhead. So I think Mustad have, well, I mean, they have hundreds of different ranges of nails, and we're so habitual as farriers, we always tend to stick to the same nails that we've always used. But if you actually explore the range that they have, you'll find a nail for each different type of shoe they have will give you a better fit than what you previously had. It adds a bit of variety to your stock. So that's the equilibrium. Let's just pick that hind foot up again, Rob. I just want to talk a little bit about, again, obviously we're still in racing plates. We have to be concerned about when these horses are in a bunch and they're in a race galloping. If you pop the shoe on, we're trying to give, like this foot particularly, she's very low heeled, so we're trying to give as much length as we can for the conformation of the foot and the horse. But we have to be aware this horse is racing, and if she gets something up close to the side of her or behind her, we're always limited to that fact. So we don't want to be sticking steel out here too much width, because again, if she gets grabbed in a race, it's the lesser of two evils. She's here to run. You know, we might have maximum of 2-3 seasons with these animals. If they lose shoes in races and it affects how they perform, it's, you know, it's not good for anybody really. So we're always compromise what you would like to do as a farrier principally, but what you have to do as a racing farrier to keep these horses performing at their best for the owners and the trainers. So it's just always worth thinking about that when plating up, and if you're coming into the industry, into the racing industry, being aware of them circumstances. It's easy to critique racing shoeing, but there's the second side to it is it's somebody's living as well. So we'll leave Rob to this, and we'll move on down to Jake, who's doing a pair of hinds for us. One other thing I wanted to talk about as well, because Rob's our sort of senior qualified farrier, we're using these Hella Rasps. We like to use the Hella XL more so. It gives us a lovely finish, but you've also done a bit of stud work, haven't you, Rob? And
yeah, I find the XLs, the originals, they're real good for stud work because they stay sharp for quite a long time, and they move a lot of material quite easily. You get the same with the XL Legend, except it doesn't perform as well in hoof removal as it does.
It's just a better rasper of finish, isn't it, in the yard, in the studs. When you've got a lot of horses to get through, you want a nice strong rasp that's going to rip through the wall and get the job done. We're looking for a bit more finesse when we're in the yards, so we're up for the XL Legend then. Right, we'll come back to you in a minute, Rob.
Yep.
Down there. So I don't know if anyone's noticed along the way, but we all work out of little sort of sack barrow trolleys getting around the yard. So this particular site that we're on houses 170 horses. So we need to be able to get around, and we don't want to be lugging tools here, there and everywhere. We want to have it with us where we're shoeing. So we've got the main trolley that's stocked up full of shoes. That comes with us wherever we are, and then each of us have our own trolleys to take our bits and pieces off. So whilst we're here, let's just have a look at the racing range that we have. So you've got your Concord, your St Croix Concord Standard, which is a slightly narrower section than your Concord Extra. So as you can see, the Extra, wider heels, wider web section. They still both all benefit from being well seated, good range of nail holes and strong clips. And again, it's just being able to, it's just nice in racing to have a range of shoes. You know, if you've got something you need a bit of extra width and support, you've got this shoe. Some of the finer footed fillies that, you know, you don't want this section on, you can opt down for the smaller
and then obviously we've got the equilibrium. So again, it's a nice wide section. We've got the equilibrium toe. We've also got the solid heels. It's a nice all-weather racing shoe, this, because you're not looking for grip on the all-weather, because that's providing the grip and the traction for you. So this, is a great all-weather option when the horses are running on that. In the hinds, we've got a quarter clip version, got your toe clip version, and again you can get these in the extra, so you've got the range. And one other thing I want to pick up on whilst I'm here is, I don't know if anyone's noticed, the back of the shoes we pre-drill before we bring them out onto the trolley. Now this just enables us to add a bit more pitch, especially some of these thoroughbred feet. As the season progresses, they start to get a little bit more angulated at their walls. This is now going to give us a little bit more pitch to be able to nail these on. So they're all pre-drilled. You just sort of go 2 or 3 mil down to give you that extra bit of angle. It's just it just makes them nailing on a lot easier as the season progresses. And again, so we've got our range of nails that we have all the time. We have the Swift range. Come on, Safi. The Swift range comes in a 0 and a 00. The 0 being 44mm long and a 00 being 42mm long. We have the FJ range, which comes in a 0 and a 1. And we also have the hammerhead range. So a Swift nail is a very exact tip and a finer shanked nail, so it's very nice for fine footed feet, broken up feet. Oh, I've just got a filly behind. Come on. A bit of drama for the morning. Swift nail, finer shank, for brittle walls, finer feet. If we're looking for a nail with a bit more of a thicker shank to it and a strong neck, your FJ range will give you that. It also has a smaller head that sits flush really into the fuller in of the sections. And then obviously onto our hammerhead range that gives us that nice locking mechanism, a larger head for extended wear of the plate. I would use a hammerhead 2 from sizes 7 to 9. I'd use the hammerhead 1 from sizes 3 to 6 really, and again the FJ0 would be sizes 3 to 6, the FJ1 6 to 9, and a Swift I'd probably just be using in 3s to 6s really. So we'll have a walk down now and see what Jake's up to. He's been shoeing a pair of hinds for us. We've had beautiful weather the last couple of weeks, and then it comes to filming Mustad live and the rain turns up. So here we have Jake. He's our 3rd year apprentice. He's been doing a pair of hinds.
So we're here with you today, a 5-iron Concord aluminium shoe for this little filly with a hammerhead 1 nail combination, and if Billy wants to have a look.
Yeah, so hind shoe fit again. So Jake's shooting quite regularly with us now. He knows that I'm looking for a flush inside fit. I don't want anything to grab. I want tight fitting shoes, or not tight fitting shoes, but flush fitting shoes, again for prevention of any interference injuries, brushing. When these fillies become a bit weak and narrow, they can start knocking behind. So he's given us a nice flush fit there. We're looking for a nice clean heel checks through there so the foot can get into the ground and out the ground fastest possible way.
and he's just offered a nice little bit of heel support. You know, please, nice job, and a nice nail pattern. At the end of each shoeing job as well, we recommend we use the Hoof Hygiene liquid, particularly for stall-bound horses. You know, these can be in their stables for up to 22-23 hours a day. They'll be standing in their manure and their muck. Your feet can become very thrushy and bacterial diseases, so after each shoeing job we just run this through the clefts of the frog to keep it all nice and healthy. If we come across a frog that has diseased and we use this, we'll give it the bottle to the head lad. They'll treat the foot every day until the foot's back to health, and yeah, it just keeps a nice hygienic foot really. So Jake, being an apprentice, he's familiar with the Mustad brand now. What would be your favourite Mustad tool?
Shoeing, probably be my turning hammer. I use that every day. Nice and light, but heavy enough to alter steel shoes as well. And then shoemaking tools would probably be my set of tongs, which I use every time I shoemake. Use Mustad tongs, they do the job nicely.
Right, we're going to move on now down to our final farrier. So we've been lucky enough this year, we've got a new member to the team, Michael, who's down here just finishing his setup. So all these horses are down for second lot. So as first lots come in, they'll be getting untacked. The lads will be knocking on this door soon, wanting to tack this filly up and get her going. She's out second lot. So Michael's been putting on Concord Extra on this filly. How did you find Concord Extra, Michael?
I really like it, Billy. Yeah, it's a really nice plate, plenty of cover, plenty of nail holes, 14 nail holes.
Yeah.
Goes on really well, you know, easy to fit
Yeah.
to most feet,
Yeah.
actually.
So Michael is also Newmarket's racecourse farrier, which means when there's a race meeting on, Michael has to be there down at the start. And if any horses pull the shoes off down at the start, that's Michael's job down there to pop them back on and get them racing. So what's probably the most common reason of shoe pulling down at the start, would you say?
Mate, I'd say probably pulling up a little bit too quickly
Yeah.
when they're coming down to the start. You know, a little bit unbalanced,
Yeah.
overreaching.
Yeah.
You know.
So again, it's something, you know, when you're shoeing these horses in the stable at home, it's a completely different environment to when they're down trackside and down at the start particularly. They look very calm and relaxed like this, but when they're down there, they're jumping about all over the place. Like Michael was saying, when the jockeys ride them down to the start, they always canter them down. Well, that's the point where they can be looking about, spooking a little bit, and that's where you're likely to pull a shoe on the way down there. So again, when you're fitting up and you're plating at home, you have to be aware of them scenarios and them situations. You can't always shoe principally how you might want to, because the horse has got a job to do, and it is the business side of it. So I want to show you the Concord Extra Therapeutic range. So they've got a range of bar shoes, straight bar, heart bar and egg bar, and they marry up size for size and shape with the extra range. So Michael's putting an extra size 5 front on this, and you can see the size 5 bar shoe, straight bar, fits pretty much drop on shape on there. There's a little bit of width all the way around, which I would just box off. It has a slightly inverted bar, which is nice in the racing world. There's nothing too much to grab there. Nice range of nails to apply that. And again, why would I put a straight bar on? Again, I wouldn't look to run a horse in bar shoes because it's too much of a risk of them grabbing it and pulling them off. But like we was talking about on the previous horse with frog hygiene, if these horses develop bad thrush through the central cleft, you get heel shears, we'll stabilise the capsule with a straight bar, treat it with a hoof hygiene, and then the problem goes away. So it's a nice, when you're in racing, you don't want to be making up shoes, it's taking time out of your day. We have a lot to get through. We want shoes that can just drop on feet, fit with the range that we're using, fit with the nails that we're using, and that's why now the St. Croix racing range, we kind of have an answer for everything. So whatever the horse's problem, we can use the range and hopefully keep them on the road and keep them in training. So I think we'll let Michael finish this foot off because the second lot is looming. I just want to show, if I was to alter this. Rob, have we got the stand and that? So we're just in here. So again, that's the brand that they're coming in, the therapeutic range. They come in this. So the racing brand and the racing range from St. Croix and Mustad is the green colour. For each individual shoeing discipline, there's a colour brand to the Mustad and St. Croix range. So it's worth being aware of that when you go into the store to buy your stock. You can look for the colour and you know what you're buying. So if I was to alter this bar shoe, if I was to go up to a size 6 on that filly, it would be too big. If I wanted to give just a bit of extra heel width, which sometimes you have to do with a bar shoe, the quickest and easiest way that I would perform that on site, it's kind of Newmarket's answer to a gas forge. I'm just going to heat that aluminium up a little bit just to soften it up a touch, and then I can just spread the back of that bar, and that will just give me an extra couple of mil width, because again, we're not putting bar shoes on like in the dressage world for huge support. It's more for hoof stabilisation. So to spread it, I will just just by sinking something into them clefts where the frog cleft will be, because you don't need that to bear weight there anyway. It's just going to open up them heels a couple of mil each side, just to give you that little bit of extra heel fit, and it's a real quick, easy way, and you're outside the box. Again, you're not got to go back to the van and fire up the forge and the anvil. So that's the Concord therapeutic range. Now, as the weather gets even worse, we've just got to walk these horses out to make sure that what we've done today, they're all sound. So again, when you're shoeing in the stables, you're shoeing a static horse. You haven't seen it before you've shot it, and unless you pull them out afterwards, you don't know if they're sound. So in the ideal world, yes, of course, we should walk the horse up to make sure it's sound before we start shoeing. You don't get them opportunities in racing, and some of these horses are too flighty to do that anyway, but we will just pull these out, make sure that they look level when they walk, and they're going to go out second lot, and we'll evaluate them when they're out then. Okay, Sonny. Seems a very long time ago when this filly was shot. So just a little way down, please, Sonny. Back in. Let's see if she looks comfortable. Okay. So again, what I'm looking for, any sort of limp movements, any head nodding, abnormal carriage, level footfall. Okay, thank you very much. That's done. Rob? Rob has put the set of Concord equilibriums on, or the FJO in front, Concord quarter clip hinds with a hammerhead nail, and you can see now quite clearly this filly, as she come out, she's very low heeled, So it's a great option for her to have the equilibrium shoe. Thank you, Rob. And then we'll just check Jake's pair of hinds. Okay, Jake. Jake had gone for the St. Concord number 5 toe clip hind with a hammerhead. Happy with that. Well done, Jake.
Okay.
You can see how nice these horses are to work on. They're very well handled. You know, 2 and 3 year old horses in the private horseshoeing world can be quite challenging to work on, but these thoroughbreds, they just allow us to do what we've got to do for them. So Michael's just finishing off his set now. Good man of it. What have we got left, Michael?
Yeah, just got to clench this foot up and the other foot.
Right, so if obviously any questions on anything you've seen today, try to cover as much of the racing range as possible for everybody and give everyone a bit of an insight into how a racing yard works, how a farrier works in a racing yard. This is kind of our version of it as working in a team. So I look forward to any questions coming from you, and we as Mustad look forward to doing more of these live feeds for you in the future. So goodbye from a rainy Newmarket and bring on the season. Thanks for watching.